Before the lights come on, before the music starts, before the judges even take their seats, there is one man whose presence alone can change the temperature of a room. Simon Cowell has spent decades shaping the music industry, discovering global stars, and telling the truth even when it hurts. He is known for his sharp eye, sharper words, and the rare moments when something truly moves him. Tonight, even Simon Cowell has no idea what he is about to witness. Because what happens next will become one of the most unexpected singing auditions in X Factor history. The theater is buzzing in that familiar way. The audience is restless but excited. Some are whispering, some are laughing, some are scrolling through their phones, but all of them are waiting for that one moment that makes the entire night worth it. The judges walk out to applause. Simon Cowell takes his seat, calm and unreadable. He has seen thousands of auditions. He has heard every type of voice. Or at least, that's what everyone thinks. The doors at the back of the stage open, and a contestant walks out who immediately confuses everyone. There is a pause. Not the dramatic kind planned by producers, but a genuine pause where people don't quite know how to react. The contestant doesn't look like a typical singer. Their outfit is unusual. Their posture is awkward. Some people in the audience exchange glances. A few quiet laughs ripple through the crowd, not out of cruelty, but confusion. Simon leans back slightly in his chair, eyes narrowing just a bit. He has learned that first impressions matter, but he has also learned that sometimes they lie. The host asks the usual questions. Name, age, where they're from. The answers are simple, almost shy. The contestant's voice speaking is nothing special. In fact, it sounds ordinary. Very ordinary. One of the judges smiles politely and asks why they chose to audition. The contestant hesitates. Then they say something unexpected. They talk about being told their whole life that they shouldn't sing. That people laughed. That teachers suggested something more practical. That friends said it wasn't realistic. They don't sound angry. They sound calm, almost peaceful, as if they've already accepted failure. The audience quiets down. Simon's expression doesn't change, but his attention sharpens. He has heard this story before. Many times. Sometimes it ends in disaster. Sometimes it ends in history. The contestant nods to the band. The music starts. At first, nothing happens. Then they sing. And in that exact second, the atmosphere in the room shifts so fast it feels physical. The voice that comes out does not match the person standing on that stage. It is powerful, controlled, emotional, and shockingly mature. The tone fills the theater, not loudly at first, but confidently. The audience's reaction is instant. Gasps. Wide eyes. Someone in the crowd covers their mouth. A judge leans forward, suddenly alert. Simon Cowell stops leaning back. He leans forward too. The contestant continues, completely focused, unaware or maybe unconcerned with the chaos unfolding in front of them. The voice climbs, not with strain, but with ease. There is no showing off. No over-singing. Just raw control and feeling. One of the judges shakes their head slowly, smiling in disbelief. Another whispers something under their breath, clearly stunned. The audience begins to clap mid-performance, something that almost never happens unless something truly special is unfolding. The clapping builds, but the contestant doesn't break focus. They stay in the moment, delivering every note with precision and emotion. Simon's face changes. It's subtle, but it's there. His eyebrows lift slightly. His mouth tightens. He looks at the contestant like he's trying to solve a puzzle. That shouldn't exist. This isn't supposed to be happening. Not like this. The song reaches its most emotional point, and instead of pushing harder, the contestant pulls back. Softer. More vulnerable. The room goes silent again. You could hear a pin drop. When the final note fades, there is a split second of stunned silence. Then the theater explodes. The audience jumps to their feet. Cheers. Screams. Applause that feels more like a roar. The judges stand up almost without realizing it. One of them puts their hands on their head. Another is laughing in shock. Simon Cowell stays seated for just a moment longer. Then he stands. That alone says everything. The applause continues, and the contestant looks overwhelmed now. Their eyes widen. Their hands shake slightly. They did not expect this. You can see it all over their face. When the noise finally dies down, the judges sit back down, still trying to process what they just witnessed. One judge speaks first, struggling to find the right words. They admit they had expectations, and those expectations were completely shattered. They talk about how rare it is to hear a voice like that, especially from someone so unexpected. Another judge focuses on the emotion. They say it didn't feel like a performance. It felt like a story. Like a truth being told. Then everyone turns to Simon. The room holds its breath. Simon looks at the contestant for a long moment. He doesn't rush. He never does when something matters. Then he speaks. He says he has been doing this for a very long time. He says he thought he had seen every surprise this show could offer. And then he pauses. He admits he was wrong. He explains that when the contestant walked out, he made assumptions. He owns that. He says that what just happened is exactly why this show exists. Because sometimes talent doesn't come in the package you expect. Sometimes it comes quietly, unannounced, and completely changes your mind. The contestant's eyes fill with tears. Simon continues. He says the voice wasn't just good. It was memorable. And in this industry, that is everything. He says people will remember this audition long after the season ends. The audience applauds again. The host asks the contestant how they're feeling. They laugh nervously and admit they didn't expect the judges to react like that. They say they just wanted one chance to be heard. Simon nods. He says, "You were heard." Then comes the votes. One by one, the judges say yes. Each yes feels inevitable now, but it still carries weight. When it reaches Simon, he doesn't hesitate. It's a yes. The contestant breaks down, overwhelmed with emotion. They thank the judges, the audience, and even the people who doubted them. Because without that doubt, they say, they wouldn't be standing here. As they leave the stage, the crowd is still cheering. Backstage, the contestant struggles to speak through tears. They talk about how this moment changes everything. How it feels like years of being ignored just vanished in a single song. The judges reflect on what just happened. They admit auditions like this are rare. That you can't plan them. You can't fake them. They just happen. Simon, in a quiet moment, says something that sticks. He says the most dangerous thing you can do is underestimate someone. The clip ends, but the impact doesn't. Within hours, the audition spreads everywhere. Social media lights up. People share the video with captions about goosebumps, shock, and disbelief. Millions of views pile up. Comment sections fill with people admitting they judged too soon. That they learned something from this moment. And that's what makes it one of the most unexpected singing auditions in X Factor history. Not just because of the voice, but because it reminded everyone, including the judges, including Simon Cowell himself, that talent has no look, no age, no shape, and no warning. Sometimes, it just walks onto a stage and changes everything. The audition may have ended, but the ripple it created refuses to fade. Long after the contestant leaves the stage, the judges remain seated, still processing what just happened. The theater is quieter now, yet the energy lingers in the air like static after a storm. Simon Cowell glances down the table, exchanging looks with the other judges. None of them say it out loud, but they are all thinking the same thing. That audition just raised the bar for the entire season. Backstage, the contestant is still shaking. Producers hand over a microphone for a quick reaction, but words come slowly. They admit they walked onto that stage expecting rejection. They talk about rehearsing what they would say if the judges left, if they said no, if they told them to come back another year. They never rehearsed what it would feel like to be accepted. As the show moves on, other contestants perform, some good, some forgettable, some emotional. But something is different now. The audience reacts differently. They are more attentive, more open, as if that one unexpected audition reminded everyone why they are really here. Later that night, after filming wraps, the judges gather privately. Without cameras, without applause, just honesty. One judge admits they were completely fooled by appearances. Another says they almost missed the emotional depth because they were too focused on the surprise of the voice. Simon listens carefully. When he finally speaks, he says something quietly but firmly. He says that moments like that are rare, and when they happen, you protect them. The next day, clips of the audition begin appearing online. At first, it's just fans of the show sharing it. Then it spreads faster. Reaction videos pop up within hours. People film themselves watching the audition, gasping at the same moment, pausing the video to say "I did not expect that." Comments flood in from around the world. People admitting they judged too quickly. People saying they cried. People saying this gave them hope to try something they were afraid of. The contestant wakes up to thousands of messages. They sit on the edge of their bed, phone in hand, overwhelmed. Messages from strangers, from old classmates, from people who once doubted them and now apologize, from people who say, "If you can do it, maybe I can too." For the first time, the contestant realizes this wasn't just a good audition. It became a moment. When rehearsals begin for the next round, the pressure feels heavier. The contestant walks into the rehearsal room and suddenly feels very small. This time, people expect something. Expectations are louder than doubt ever was. The vocal coaches are kind but honest. They push harder. They know the world is watching now. The contestant struggles at first. There is a rehearsal where the voice cracks. Another where confidence slips. Old fears creep back in. The voice inside their head whispers that the audition was a fluke. That they won't live up to it. Simon visits rehearsals quietly, without announcing himself. He stands in the back of the room, arms crossed, observing. He doesn't interrupt. He watches the contestant stumble, stop, start again. He sees the effort, the fear, the determination. After rehearsal, Simon pulls the contestant aside. He doesn't talk about notes or technique. He talks about belief. He says that talent gets you noticed, but courage keeps you standing when things get hard. He reminds them that the reason the audition worked wasn't perfection. It was honesty. He tells them not to chase the moment, but to understand it. That conversation changes everything. On performance night, the contestant steps onto the stage again. This time, the crowd already knows their name. The cheers are louder. The lights feel brighter. The silence before the first note is heavier. Simon watches closely. The performance begins, and while it's different from the audition, it carries the same truth. The voice isn't trying to shock now. It's trying to connect. And it does. The audience responds immediately. Not with surprise this time, but with trust. When the performance ends, the reaction is strong. The judges applaud. The feedback is constructive, honest, and encouraging. Simon says something important. He says the contestant didn't just prove the audition wasn't luck. They proved they belong here. Week after week, the contestant grows. They face criticism. They learn from it. They have moments where nerves threaten to take over. But every time they step on stage, they remember that first audition. The moment when no one believed, and then suddenly everyone did. Fans rally behind them. Online polls rank them as one of the most talked about contestants of the season. Articles are written about how appearances can be misleading. How real talent can come from anywhere. Simon, in interviews, references the audition often. He says it reminded him why he still does this show. Why he still believes in finding voices the world hasn't heard yet. As the competition narrows, the contestant stands among singers who look like stars, sound like stars, and move like stars. And yet, they hold their own. Not by trying to outshine, but by staying real. No matter how far they go in the competition, one thing becomes clear. That audition will be remembered long after winners are announced. Long after the stage lights dim. Long after the season ends. Because it wasn't just unexpected. It was unforgettable. And somewhere out there, someone watching from home decides to take a chance on themselves. Just because one contestant walked onto a stage, ignored the laughter, trusted their voice, and sang anyway. As the weeks pass, the competition tightens, and the atmosphere inside the studio changes. What once felt like excitement now feels like pressure. Every contestant knows there is no room for mistakes anymore. Every performance could be the last. The unexpected singer, once the quiet surprise of the auditions, is now a name everyone recognizes. Walking through the backstage hallways, the contestant hears whispers. Not doubt this time, but expectation. Crew members smile. Other contestants nod with respect. Some even admit they never thought that first audition would lead this far. The contestant feels it all. The pressure. The hope. The fear of letting people down. Before one live show, the contestant sits alone in the dressing room, staring at their reflection. They remember the person who walked into the audition room weeks ago, unsure, underestimated, almost invisible. That person feels far away now. But the fear is still there, quietly waiting. When the stage manager calls their name, the contestant stands up, takes a deep breath, and walks toward the lights. The audience cheers loudly as they appear, but this time the cheers are different. They are filled with belief. People are no longer waiting to be surprised. They are waiting to be moved. Simon Cowell watches closely as the music begins. From the first note, it's clear something has changed. The voice carries more confidence now, more control, more understanding of its own power. The performance is not about proving anyone wrong anymore. It's about sharing something real. Halfway through the song, the camera cuts to the judges. One of them is visibly emotional. Another is nodding along with the rhythm. Simon remains still, but his eyes never leave the stage. When the final note fades, the audience rises instantly. The applause is thunderous. It doesn't feel forced or polite. It feels earned. Simon stands again. When the judges give feedback, they don't talk about surprise anymore. They talk about artistry, about growth, about consistency. Simon says something that changes everything. He says this is no longer an unexpected contestant. This is a serious artist. The contestant advances again. But the closer they get to the finale, the harder it becomes. Online opinions grow louder. Supporters defend passionately. Critics question whether the magic can last. The contestant tries not to read too much, but sometimes curiosity wins. One night, doubt returns stronger than ever. The contestant calls home. They speak to someone who knew them before the stage, before the lights. That person reminds them why they started singing in the first place. Not for approval, not for applause, but because it made them feel alive. That reminder carries them forward. Final performance night arrives. The studio is packed. The energy is intense. Every seat filled. Every camera ready. Simon Cowell sits at the table, knowing this season will be remembered, no matter the outcome. When the contestant's turn comes, the lights dim, and the room goes silent. This performance is different. There is no attempt to impress. No attempt to shock. Just honesty. The voice carries emotion shaped by every step of the journey. The rejection that once felt inevitable. The audition that changed everything. The fear. The growth. The belief. As the song reaches its emotional peak, the audience feels it. People wipe tears. Some hold hands. Others simply stare, completely absorbed. When it ends, there is a pause. Not confusion. Respect. Then the applause erupts. Simon stands slowly, clapping, his expression thoughtful. When he speaks, his words are calm but powerful. He says that no matter what happens next, this contestant has already won something more important than a title. They have found their voice, and they made the world listen. The results are announced later that night. Whether the contestant takes the top spot or not, the reaction is overwhelming. Fans celebrate. Messages pour in. Opportunities begin to appear. Interviews. Invitations. Chances that once felt impossible. Backstage, Simon approaches the contestant one last time. He shakes their hand and says something simple but unforgettable. He says, "You surprised us all, including yourself." Months later, people still talk about that first audition. It becomes one of those moments replayed again and again. A reminder that talent doesn't always announce itself loudly. Sometimes it arrives quietly, wrapped in doubt, waiting for one brave moment. For the contestant, life is forever changed. And for everyone watching, it becomes proof of something powerful. That the most unexpected voices can make the loudest impact. That sometimes, even the judges don't know how to react. And that is exactly what makes history.